It's ironically never about the weights. It's about the willingness to put in the work and overcome the struggle. And the biggest struggle with that is that it's sometimes the smallest thing that you have the most difficulty with.
Of course.
That's very true. Yeah, we've seen it. Welcome back to another episode of Aspire Higher with Charles and Yvana Bailey. I mean, it really should be Yvana and Charles Bailey. She's my better half, but I'm really excited to be sitting here with this beautiful lady. Look at you.
All right, relax.
Blue.
Why not? It's my favorite color.
What is that, velvet?
It's silk.
You look amazing, girl.
Thank you.
You look expensive. Well, man,
got off a plane.
You know what? That's true. You're always. You know what's funny? I wish that I could keep up with this woman, but the reality of it is, she is always traveling around the world, the United States, speaking, presenting. She's a beast at it. But anyway, I can't sit here and talk all about you as much as I'd like to, because we have a special guest, friend, brother. In fact, if you read our book, The Flight of Your Life, The Power of Propulsion, available anywhere books are sold, we've actually written a little snippet about him. We didn't use his name because we didn't want him to sue us, but we did use the story because he's very special to us, and he didn't even know that he was and would be. So without further ado, Mr. Randy Hadley, world-renowned strength coach, performance coach, owner of RH Fit Professional Development. In fact, he does professionals, youth.
Yes.
This guy is a mind mechanic. He's a genius. I know I'm hyping you up, but it's the truth though.
Best hype man in the world.
20 plus years.
I love it.
Look, tell some people.
I'll definitely take care of that for you.
There it is.
I appreciate it.
Make that check out to Charles L. Bailey Jr. There's a lot of Charles Bailey.
Duly noted. Bob, get that. Thank you very much. My assistant's over here, so I'll make sure he gets that taken care of for you.
Speaking of assistants, he's a cute
so
kid.
cute. He's
Wow,
so
I wish
cute. He has a beautiful family.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Beautiful family, yeah. All right. So tell us a little bit about your adventures. Feel free to start right off the top, because a lot of people want to know in the first few minutes, who have you worked with?
Yes.
What have you done? Where are you now?
Randy Hadley, again, RH Fit Pro Performance. First, I want to say it's a pleasure being here.
Of course.
So thank you for having me. This has definitely been a process, but again, it's been a good little journey staying connected.
Yes, sir.
And again, it's been a good problem that we're both busy, but again, we've been able to lock it down.
Yes, sir.
Again, RH Fit Pro from here in Orlando, Florida. Humble beginnings, just a strength conditioning guy. I say that loosely, but again, just trying to affect people in the most positive way. And taking the vehicle that brings them to me, which happens to be fitness, and then trying to help them figure out what their focus is. Sometimes their purpose. Again, it's the type of place you don't come to just work out. We have conversations. So sometimes our conversations are more heavy lifting than our actual workworkouts.
Love that.
Yes.
And again, I've been doing this for 20 plus years. I've been fortunate to do it at the highest level. Olympic athletes, David Oliver, LaShawn Merritt, Novaline Williams, just to name a few. Been able to work with Naja Little, first round draft pick. Just finished up this summer working with Pascal Siakam from the Toronto Raptors. Got some baseball guys, Jason Grilly from Major League Baseball World Series, Sly Williams. From the Denver Broncos, just you get different guys,
yes,
you know.
That's right,
again,
that's right.
And again, the fortunate to stop there, but I also have high school kids, college kids, and I say those names. But the proud part is I have as many professionals in other fields than the sport.
Come on.
So they may come to me for sports, but we finish with something else.
That's right.
And that's part of that purpose. You know, we have doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, aspiring young men and women, just trying to find their way. And again, I've been fortunate to be the foundation to get a lot of that started at their young age when a lot of things are being pulled at them.
That's so incredible. I'm telling you. Well, once again, you've seen us do this before. Somebody kills it. That's the end of our show.
Done.
Hit that like, subscribe button. You have any questions real quick? Well, I was going to say, talking on what you just brought up, because the identity and purpose, those are wrapped into your training protocol.
Right.
Was that always the way, or did something happen that made you see, wait a second, I have a platform to really propel people into a new or a better purpose?
It's a combination. You know, again, you take the things, I put myself first, and I say that, what am I doing as I'm actually living my dream? I love business, I love sports, I love fitness. So I figured out a way that I could take all the things I love and still do them and still affect others. So I took that as part of the fabric of my philosophy, I guess you would say. And so I challenge others, this is what you're doing, but what do you want to do with it?
Sure.
So it's been a hybrid of sorts. And I literally started that with me first and how I position myself as the example of that is possible. Because sometimes I say I shouldn't be where I am, but I'm fortunate to be here to do what I'm doing and affect people that way.
Talk about it. Why would you say
I was
you?
gonna say
Yeah,
that.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, give us the backstory. We need to know.
Just humble beginnings again. I literally started this out of the back of my truck.
Wow.
Whisper, prayer, and a dream. Made a lot of sacrifices, walked away from a lot of good opportunities because I was more committed to my dream.
I understand.
Perceived purpose at that time. Wasn't really sure. But just thought it was the right thing to do.
Right.
And every time I thought it was time to do something else, I got a phone call or got an opportunity. So it just kept pushing. So it's like there's got to be more to it.
Right.
So as I said, I looked internally at how I was affecting others. Just as a prime example, I got a text last night. One of my kids got his first dunk in a game. As the mom says, the dunk is fun, but what you've done for him as a person is bigger than that.
That's right. Come on.
That in itself,
Come on. That's right. That's the real word.
carries
the real
further
word.
than the work. So it's just, again, understanding that and then being committed to that, not trying to put anything else before that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's keeping it in the forefront. So yeah, when we train with a different mindset.
Right.
It's ironically never about the weights. It's about the willingness to put in the work and overcome the struggle. And the biggest struggle with that is that it's sometimes the smallest thing that you have the most difficulty with.
Of course.
That's very true. Yeah, we've seen it.
We already
Oh,
know.
it looks easy.
Yeah,
But
so just like that. Yep.
this man.
Before you came in, we were kind of chatting about like the real work it took during the David Oliver days, LaShawn Merritt days. These are track and field legends, by the way, if you don't know. It just seemed like a different grit. Now that life has progressed, generations have changed, how have you found your work in helping them navigate that true grit and true hard work up until today? Like, how have you been? Give me some backstory of that.
Managing distractions.
Big one.
That's the biggest one.
Big one, absolutely.
I put a post on my Instagram a while back of a water pail with a bunch of holes and a lot of tape all over it. That's what it's like with these young athletes, young individuals now, is you're trying to fill their bucket up, but you're constantly having to plug these holes with all these different distractions.
That's a good one.
And that's really it, is that we didn't have as many distractions, so there was more focus. Because you really didn't get your celebration until you did your work.
That's right. Absolutely.
I know exactly what you're
There's
saying.
some stories
We came
in there
from those
that
times.
everybody was like, you didn't know me when I had to do this.
Thank you.
Quick story about David I always laugh about because that's one of close. I actually watched him on a track meet at 9 o'clock in the morning, get his coaching cues from his coach at 10 o'clock. And I had a friend who gave him a job at finish line that he had to be at 12 o'clock.
Wow.
Okay.
That's how he started his career.
No one knows.
Nobody knows about that because they only really paid attention to it when he actually finally made
That's
16.
right. That's right.
And then
That's right.
he's
Yeah.
like, then what happened, these other ones come along and they want those same kind of gratitude. He's like, it didn't just happen like this. I had to work through that.
That's right.
And understand that. So my joke with him is he went from stacking Nikes to making stacks from Nikes.
Hey, you're right. He sure did. He sure did.
Loosely, but those are the kind of stories of just those humble beginnings
Yes. Yeah.
where now they want it now.
Man.
Right.
They feel entitled. And again, I get there's the business to it, but there still has to be the substance behind the product
Always.
that makes
That's
it sustainable. So that's why I look at it. And you look at, knock on wood, whatever, is that you have so long sustainable careers and not just flashes.
Right.
Because sometimes they get it too soon and then they don't know how to manage it.
Yes.
Your talent, I think one of the quotes I've heard a while back was, your talent will get you sometimes farther than your character can keep you.
Come on, we talk about that.
Will get you farther. Come on.
And you've got to be prepared to be able to manage that.
Yes,
And I think that's what a lot of
yes.
times, because everything is fast tracked now.
Right.
And with that, as you make that point, is I used to have to worry about just the kids.
It's the adults.
Respectfully, now I have to work with the parents.
I was
Right.
waiting for
So-
that.
Yep.
That's right.
So I'm having to educate these parents
Yes.
and help navigate their pathway as well.
Yep.
Right.
And sometimes I respectfully comes across in a
friendship.
nice way. Somebody comes, it comes
reality.
directly. Because I have to look, I'm like, look, I've been doing this longer than you've been a parent. So let's get on this thing and help. Trust me.
Yeah, like trust me.
But it's that
in
process.
Fact, what brought you to me was what you see me do.
That's right.
And I've also, and to the point, I won't say I lost clients because they were mine supposed to be, but because I don't post enough, because I don't show enough.
Right.
But I tell them it'll show in the work.
That's
Yes,
right.
sir.
That's
and
right.
the results of what we do. So those are the kind of things, just really the distractions amongst their peers, amongst social media, and just these expectations, which creates a lot of now stress, emotional and mental stress, and much less just focus on it by itself. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
You know, it's funny. Deion Sanders said, especially considering talking about another legend, and he was talking about this generation, and then he was like, you know, you guys want what success looks like. He said, we know what it felt like. We had to build that, you know, and then you have, like you said, the distractions, social media, all these things. And to your point earlier, some people who hadn't done the work but have 1 million followers because of their practice or what they're doing. But if you really watch them, they hadn't progressed much or done anything different. Exactly. And so you're very much so right, man. But, you know, I love what he's saying, because what you brought up, and especially because even I remember this being a young athlete and coming up in the generation before that switch, man, is the dedication to standards.
Absolutely.
And there was a different standard because the expectation, like you said, was on your actual performance and not your appearance. Could you talk to that? Because I know that that's something for any coach right now. That's like a needle in our side.
It definitely is that we're constantly looking again at these phones and looking to our left or right in terms of images.
That's right.
To your point, Deion made the same thing. He's like, I know your brand better than I know you.
True. That's very true.
And that's the problem again. But you know,
right.
I to that point, I have one. What is present had a past. That's the only way it has a future.
Sure.
But we're so busy looking at the YOLO, only live once and live right now, that we're not understanding the history of it that made it sustainable.
That's right.
That made it relevant.
Right.
Excuse me.
No problem.
So that's the biggest thing, I think, is just getting them to understand that everything you want will be there waiting for you.
Absolutely.
But the biggest thing is once you get there, you want to be able to keep it
sir.
and enjoy it.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Again, late friend, I don't think you remember from the gym. Jim Way used to say, it's not how well you eat, it's how long you eat well.
All right now. That's right. That's
So
right.
that's the thing, is that, you know, you can get it and burn through it, and then you're looking at what happened. And you want to be able to just get there and lay your anchor and just enjoy and just bask in your process.
That's right. That's right.
I know I tell, you know, somebody say, I'm chasing greatness. I'm like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
Because if you're chasing, you wouldn't know, you don't realize greatness until you're done.
That's right.
True.
You don't until you're reflective back on it. So so if greatness is in front of you and you're saying you're great right now, then you're not focused on being great, because you don't know that until you look back at it.
I love it. He does all mindset work, and everything that you're talking about is foundational. Foundation, laying something sturdy enough that can withstand the test, no matter what distraction comes. That's everything, because there are strength coaches that don't care. They really don't care.
They're
they
just
want
people
results,
that don't
you
care.
know? Yeah,
in
true,
these
that too.
industries. Yeah.
But you care about the whole being, the whole athlete, and that's everything. So thank you for what you do. That's service. That's true service.
Yeah, give that man his flowers. Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, it's funny, I was thinking about, you know, before we move on too far, because I know some people heard me say at the top of the show that you were in our book. And so I want to tell this story because it is personal to both of us. And I actually have referenced it when I've given talks. Even, I mean, again, this is stuff you didn't even know. You and I met at what used to be, well, it's Fitness CF now, but it was what was it? Gold's Gym back in the past in Orlando, Florida. Huge thing. And I'll never forget, you were sitting, which they used to have these bars right by like the door when you're getting ready to exit. And we were talking to you. You had talked to me more than once, and you had seen me. You had asked about me as a trainer because you had seen me working with other people. And so you were telling me, hey, you ever heard of David Oliver? And at that point, I was still too naive to really know just how big David was at that time. And
I knew, though.
Yeah, when I tell you,
that's my event.
Yeah, she knew. She's like, what? What do you mean, David Albert? I was like, yeah, I met Randy Hadley. So, but you said something to me that stuck with me. Literally all of this time. It's probably been almost 15 years now. How long is that? It's been a long time. And you said, you know, the first thing you have to ask yourself, Charles, as you're working with your wife, you asked me some other things about like a VO2 and heart rate, resting heart rate. And you said, but does she believe that she belongs? You said it doesn't matter what she does, but if she really believes she belongs there, you can at least say you're getting the best out of her.
Yeah.
And that struck me.
It did.
It struck me
talking
so
about that.
deeply. I went back and talked to her, and it was such a simple statement, and no one had ever said it to me before. But watch this. It struck me so deeply that I had to question myself. Because I was here coaching this young lady who had gifts, skills, and talents to do something beyond what she had done in college, and no one helped her really maximize what she had. And here I am trying to do it for the first time, and I had to ask myself, do I believe that I belong?
Right.
Because there were other coaches, oh, she needs to be working with me, she needs to be working over here, and we wanted to. Right. But like I always say in the book, we didn't have that work with me money at the time. So we had to do something. But that changed my mindset. And I started to value my presence in my present. I want you to know how impactful that was for me. And for those of you who read our book, you can go back. That's in Only Believers Belong. And I start off right there on page 106. Yeah, man. Just had to share that. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you because that means so much. I hope it meant something to you.
It does mean a lot. And I do remember that question, do you believe you belong? And I always had the dream of track and field, making it far, making it as a professional, and then hopefully the Olympics. But with that being said, if I didn't believe I belonged, it didn't no matter how much you coached me, how much strength and conditioning I did, how much recovery, if I don't believe it, I'm not going anywhere. I will always have a glass ceiling over my head. And I think intrinsically, when an athlete knows that they belong, it's over. That's like the gold nugget to the training, to the recovery, and then to the performance. And I remember always having to fight the opposite feeling. You know, it's there. Of course, I believe it, but your times may not reflect it. The circumstance may not reflect it, you know, and hurdles happens to be one of the hardest events besides the 100 meters in America, in the world. I mean, it's always like that. And it always has been. The top 100 will be all America.
Yeah.
Like, oh. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you make it into that bubble? But then if you believe you belong, you push no matter what. And then having people like you, I mean, that's integral when it comes to training, because you didn't have to be that for David. You didn't have to be that for Joel, for LaShawn. You didn't have to do that. But because of who you are, that was kind of a byproduct of training with you. That's everything, you know? And not every athlete has that. And that's the hardest part, you know? It's really difficult.
And that's the importance of finding people like that in your life. Not just people who imagine your best interests, but truly look at you and say, I know that this is the thing you're after, but you have to question who are you becoming through it. And then watch this. They're also the people who invest in who you're becoming.
That's right. That's right.
I really believe that about you, man.
That's right. And he probably had more conversations outside of weightlifting.
I'm glad you brought that up.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you were probably sitting there talking forever to these athletes, but you were building bricks. You were building that foundation, that concrete.
And that's to that point. I humbly sit back and watch it. Guys will finish their workouts and will just hang around. So when it's a place that you want to be, not a place you want to get away from, you can pat your back and say, you did it, you're doing your job. It's to focus. Or I got a day off, I don't have anywhere to go, can I just come in and stretch? Because they want to be in the presence or in that environment. That's what lets you know you're doing the right things when they have alternatives and you're the choice. That's when you really let them put it together.
I like that.
Wisdom. I see the gray hair up there, sir. Looking good.
Wisdom.
I was going to cut it, but I leave it for a reason now. I embrace it. But it's just that it really is. It's so much beyond the exercise, and it's what it is, the substance of the people and who they are, because you can, and unfortunately, you see those few that get lost or are just the subject or the pawn that gets pushed through in efforts for the next person to make their step. Again, proud moment for me is I have clients that were kids that have a daughter the same age as I do. I'm going to their weddings, going to their graduation. So it's not for that for that season. It's been for a lifetime of building these relationships I always tell people, once you're in, you're in. It's just like family. So that's how we do, no matter where you go, and how we do.
That's incredible.
So it's been a blessing just to kind of see it evolve, because for a long time I didn't know what it was until you sit back and reflect. and you see what's come through there,
Right.
and you see where they are, where they are now.
Yes.
Again, to David's point, David's getting Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Joel coaching USA.
That's
Dwight's now an agent. Novelin's a mom. Again, these kids who are now, they're not kids anymore.
Right.
They're entrepreneurs, lawyers.
Right.
Again, whatever they're doing, it's just a blessing to be a part of knowing the beginning of that, and helping them find that way, and getting those phone calls of just say, hey, this is what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Come on.
And again, it's just blessed to be in a position to
Right.
be impactful.
Right.
Wow,
right.
man.
Right.
Well, bless God for your gift, man, and taking the responsibility of that mantle, because
Yeah.
we often undervalue the significance of our impact in other people's lives, and that's one of the reasons why we really wanted to have you on, because his life aligns, your life aligns with what we've been talking about, not just in our career, but in our practice. We definitely help people to find and define, as we like to call it, their propulsive purpose. But we understand we're the catalyst for igniting that and pushing them to more. Right. Can I ask you a question? You said earlier that sometimes the conversations are heavier than the weightlifting. What are some of the things, and I'm not talking about necessarily stories that you have to share unless you do want to share some, but what are some of the things that you use that our listeners and viewers could take, whether they're an entrepreneur, a leader, a coach, an athlete, that you specifically give to athletes that they could be mindful of?
Something as simple as what's the first thing you do when you wake up?
Routine.
How do you start your day?
Come on.
What is your
Yes.
accountability? What are you feeding your mind, your spirit? What starts your day?
Right.
How do you align the rest of your day with how you started?
Yes, sir.
Are you intentional?
Come on, bro.
Even now I'll flip it to when you go to bed, what's the last thing you do?
Come on, talk
So
about
it's just
it.
those basic things. A great book called The One Thing, and it's like one thing can affect and have that domino effect. I just posted the other day, it's not cool to say I get up at a 5 a.m. workout looking like you're rolling in, like you're rolling out of bed.
Right.
Get your rest.
Get up.
and come in motivated to get the
right.
most out of it if
That's
you're going
right.
to make the commitment to get up. Again, whether it's the student, it's the balance of study.
Right.
Be a kid. Put the sport where it belongs,
That's
but also
right.
put your studies,
Speaking
because
good.
we have to find those balances.
Yes, sir.
And then
That's
still be a kid, be social.
That's right.
Right.
But on the side, again, all these little nuggets, you still got to make the main thing the main thing.
Right.
And understanding priorities,
Right.
and understanding those responsibilities. So it's just those types of things of just really making them aware. As I have the young kids, we talk about the E's is expose, engage, and educate. We expose them, let them be seen. So I challenge them to look beyond what they only see in front of them.
Come on now.
And then we engage in a conversation.
Right.
What did you get from it?
Yeah.
And then we educate of a better insight of how to look at that. Because again, back to the original quote, oftentimes we're looking at right now, we don't ever look at how it got here.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we never looked at where it went.
Right.
So every time a lot of stuff, telling my age, I've done this long enough, the last that we've seen, we've already seen it before.
Wow.
But again, sound like a man of 1,000 quotes here. What is it? A man who doesn't understand history is bound to repeat itself.
Sure.
So, if you don't understand it, if you're so focused on the highlights and the glit and the glam and the what's next, how do you ever prepare for what's next?
That's
Absolutely.
right. That's right.
So you have to have, be mindful where you are, but have one eye on where you're trying to go.
That's
All
right.
right, bro.
That's right.
All right now.
I need to write this down. Can I get a pen, please?
Shish, pass the offering plate.
But I think that's just it. Is just I think having real and I think that's it.
Yeah.
We are so in a point where a lot of technology has now stole our young people's
Absolutely.
voice.
We know about that. That's
So
right.
my challenge is to help them find their voice,
Right.
and simply, literally, voice is you can communicate.
That's right.
You can
Speak
talk that
up.
out. And
Right.
again,
Right.
I don't care if it's not right.
That's
we'll learn
right.
how to get it right.
It's the confidence. That's
Yeah.
right.
There you
Just
go.
say something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's it. Is again helping them not to be rude or disrespectful,
That's
but to
right.
at least have some input,
right.
so you
That's
can have the engagement. There's too many assumptions.
Absolutely, man.
Then we go on one of my little things I've been on
I
lately.
already know what you're going to say. Say it. I want to
It's
see.
about leadership.
Okay, go ahead.
So I want to know what you were about, but it's about leadership. We have this leadership by default mentality.
Okay.
Simply because they're a senior or junior, they've been there the longest. By default, we make them the leader.
Right, of course.
And I don't agree with that. I think or that the leader has to be the loudest.
Oh yeah, that's not it either.
So I think it's just finding a balance of understanding what true leadership is and understanding how to shape those leaders, allow them to make mistakes, and learn to learn from them.
Right.
But they're so afraid to making a mistake to never have the opportunity again.
We live in a different time, though, so it makes so much sense. You know, we made plenty of mistakes, especially as athletes, and then you grow through that. But what are your difficulties with, I guess, athletes nowadays, beyond distraction? How do you get them to communicate? How do you get them to find their voice?
I just challenge them. I constantly, I don't waver.
I was going to say that again.
Challenge.
Thank you for saying it again, Coach.
I don't waver. I'm going to challenge
Come
them.
on.
That's where I tell them I'm old school and a new school way.
Yeah,
I love that.
In terms of communication, that we talk.
We talk.
Talk it out.
You know, even number two, if you're going to text me properly.
Yes. I mean, with all the
format.
Right. You're like, use the full words here.
Let's figure this thing out.
Correct.
So it's about how you present yourself.
Right.
And fortunate for me is like you never know who may walk in my door.
That's true.
So let's be
Absolutely
you be prepared.
Right.
So now college coaches, scouts, what have you, are always around.
Right.
So you want to be able to present your best self at all times, and let it be you, not let it be fabricated and get you caught off guard.
Exactly.
And the authentic self.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So when now you have the conversation, because one day, you know, 8th grade, 9th grade, you may not be thinking about having a camera in his face or a microphone.
Of course.
But now, in today's time, we have all these things that be prepared.
Absolutely.
So then, like I said, you can
Yes.
separate yourself simply on how you communicate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
We create opportunities on how you communicate.
Yes.
I wish I remember the quote, but I'm going to botch this, but it will make the point. There's some quote, and if you know who it is, please drop in the comments and make sure that you get the reference for me. But it says something along the lines that in a time where truth is so few, the sound of truth will be ever loud. I messed it up, but somebody's going to get the right quote. The point is what you just said is someone who lives in this generation where everything is done in a certain way. It's the simple things that everyone's forgotten that are going to be the thing that make you stand out.
That's right.
Yep.
You don't even have to do the hard things anymore. You need to go back to the basics.
That's right.
And everyone will be like, man, that kid's different.
Yeah.
That man's different.
That's right.
You're like,
Just
no,
be
that's what my mom and daddy told me.
Right.
Yep. And to your point, you just said that if you notice, that's my tag. We do things differently. It's just different because when you come through here, I want you to be different.
Yeah.
And I want you to understand he comes from a different environment. He comes from a different cut of cloth.
That's right.
He presents himself different.
Yeah.
And that's the intangible that I try to tell people don't come across in a post.
That's right.
So you have to, that's my challenge is to understand RH Fit Pro, you have to experience it. You have to come and see it. You have to feel it. You have to understand it to really know why it's different.
Yes.
I love that.
So that's just it. Whether it's how we walk in our posture, in our presentation, how we talk, how we prepare, and more importantly in this game, how we perform.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Whatever it is, we're going to perform in the classroom. We're going to perform on the field court. I want something that you stand out as that. I don't know what it is, but it's different.
She's got
very
it.
different.
Yeah, that's right.
And then there's one thing that's been constant, knock on it, is RH Fit Pro or Randy's. That's the product in which you produce that you see time and time again.
Right. And even on your shirt, I love how it says, do what you need to do. And you crossed out want, not do what you want to do. And a lot of times, especially nowadays, people just want to do things easier. They want to cut corners. But what you need to do is excellence. You need to perform with excellence. You need to come into a room and be able to communicate with excellence. And it's really difficult for a lot of athletes to break away from a cloth that's familiar, break away from social media culture that's familiar. How do you navigate that where it's like, you know that that's the hard part, you know that that's the barrier, but your coaching and who you are always separates that? Like, how difficult is that?
For me, it can be somewhat challenging, but I make a phone call.
Okay. All right. Okay.
No,
Talk about it.
You don't believe me? Hold
Okay.
on. Let me make this phone call. Let me put it on speaker. Let me send a
I see
text.
what
I
he's saying.
can,
Got it.
because I've been fortunate enough to not only know about it, I've been a part of this before.
Got it.
So let me call my references and my
Come on.
resources.
Come on. Come
That's
on.
already done it. And
That's
let
right.
me, you don't want to believe me.
Yes.
Let me believe them.
That's it.
You know, and tell you, because
That's
like I
it.
said, everything that has a present
Yeah.
has a past in order
Right.
to have a
Right.
future.
That's right.
So I've been fortunate enough to have a past
Yeah.
that affects present that we hopefully
That's right.
continues to produce the future.
Yes.
So that is that, you know, I will beat it till I'm blue in the face. And I'm like, cool, let's just stop. Let me make a phone call.
Sure.
Right.
Let me send this text real quick.
Like LeVar Burton said, don't have to take my word for it.
Right.
Right. And then, like you said, and Evan, you know, if the timing is right,
Yeah.
they may be in the building.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So
That's
next
right.
thing you know, you're looking beside you. And then the cool part about I don't introduce them.
Oh,
I'll
that's
let
so
you
funny.
figure out, do you know who that was?
Yeah.
Do you know who that is?
Wow.
So that goes by a part of the presence of you know, knowing who you're in the presence of.
That's right. That's
And
right.
knowing how to communicate.
Come on.
I've been fortunate, like I said, to have some high level athletes training
Oh, yeah.
right beside a younger athlete.
Right.
Younger athlete never acknowledged them, which was fine because I
Again.
wanted to see.
Of course.
And then
of
after it's
course.
gone, like, do you know who that was?
Yeah.
And they were like, no, I'll give them the name. You go, well, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah, right.
No,
That-
that's
no.
not my job.
That's for you to communicate.
And so,
Come on.
yeah, you know, you know, it was somebody who hasn't normally been here.
That's right.
that's
That's
So
right.
why didn't you introduce yourself?
That's right.
As your own? So it's just little things like that.
That's
Just
I love it.
Being
I love
fortunate to have the history and have the resource and the network
Right.
that if I don't feel like my message is getting across, then I extend the olive branch to that.
I love that, man. But
Foster
that,
good relationships.
that is
I
what
love
I was
that.
just getting ready to say,
Yes.
because that is a signature piece that you should be taking. If you hear anything, hear that. The way you treat people
Come on.
is indicative of the way they're going to respond to you. And watch this,
That's right.
the resource they'll be to you
Absolutely.
when you need a response. I think that's so beautiful, because if you hadn't thought about it, think of the people that you're impacting.
Right.
Think of the people in your circle that you may be even ignoring. Think about the people that are in your circle that you're responsible for. If you don't visualize that you are making a difference, or you can make a difference, you may miss the bridge that you need to cross later.
Right.
So
Right.
just an encouraging word from Coach.
Right.
I took that word. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yes. And fostering all those relationships to where you can just call them and they pick up
That's
and
right.
they respond.
That's
like,
right.
come on.
That's right.
It's everything. It's everything. Because you said past, present, and future. So no matter what circle of life they're in, you're still maintaining that relationship, and you're teaching the generations underneath you to respect that, to ask these questions. If there are athletes in the gym, open your mouth. It's no longer emoji town. Like, open your mouth and communicate.
Yeah,
You're
of
sitting with
course.
communication
Of
majors,
course.
you know, and that's what we all are being excellent at, is good, strong,
that's right.
effective communication.
That's right.
It opens doors, truly.
What are some things, Coach, if you had to leave this conversation? You've said so much. And the one thing I love about our show is that the way that the conversation flows, there's so much for anyone to gather.
grasp, yes.
But if there's some things that you really want to highlight and leave with someone listening, address the audience for us. And feel free to look right into the camera if you need to.
I think the most important thing is just simply respect everybody you meet, because you never know who they are or where you may meet them again. That is just important, again, of having the resources, being presentable, being approachable is one of the most important things. That sometimes we are such in a shut-off world with headphones in our earbuds, heads down, that we don't even present ourselves as being approachable. That head nod, that hello, that so what are you working on now? Those type of things, I think, are just dialogue
Yes,
and exchange and healthy exchanges. I think that's the biggest thing. At any level, if it's the person that's the highest up, how did you what was your journey to get there?
That's right.
If it's the person who's in the middle of the road, what's your next step? If you're a young one that don't know what you're doing, what are your options? And let's explore all of those. I think it's being willing to be curious.
Great.
Not just of our
like
own,
that.
of ourselves,
Yes.
but a little bit of curiosity of others.
That's right.
And not, I don't want to use the word envious, but more
honoring
of others without understanding the substance.
Yes.
Right,
There you
right,
go.
right.
What allowed them to get in that position
sir.
and understand that pathway. It doesn't have to be yours, but
That's
but
right.
that is a pathway
That's
because
right.
it obviously worked for them. It may not work for you, and finding out different options. And I think that's creating the avenue for whatever somebody's trying to go, whatever field it is, whether it's in the corporate office, whether it's in school, whether it's on the field, whatever. I think there's somebody, and then to branch out beyond that.
Yes,
don't be afraid to look outside your industry, your sport.
Right.
I tell people I'm not a gym rat who owns a business. I'm a businessman who owns a gym.
That's right.
And I treat it just like that, from the branding, from the marketing aspect, from the approach of what we do.
Right.
You can establish your identity.
That's right.
And like we talked about is that start with how you want to present yourself and how do you want to be received.
Come on now.
And then you become that mirror reflection. You get what you put out.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing.
Coach, my man, way to close it. Well, I'm telling you, if you love what you heard today, I'm going to tell you one more time. Hit that subscribe, find your new source of inspiration for business and sport. Remember, we talk to CEOs, entrepreneurs like my man Randy here, coaches, professional athletes, and of course you get us. But we want to challenge you. Join along for this ride. Drop some comments. But before you do that, I want to make sure you know where you can find out more about Randy. Could you please give them your website and where they can find you in Orlando?
rhfitpro.com is the website, at rhfitpro for Instagram and Twitter. And we are at 6735 Conroy Road, Suite 105 in Orlando, Florida. Drop us a line, drop us a note. We'd love to have you. Again, obviously, we'd love to have conversation, but more important, we'd love to work.
That's it. So, work.
Ooh, coach.
One verb.
I'm telling you, look, I feel good. I got literal goosebumps because the man, bro, great to go, bro. Any thoughts, coach?
He nailed it.
All right,
to say, like, what?
All right, guys. Well, that's the end of the show. Another show. Thank you so much for joining us. Go ahead and hit that share button. Of course, you'll see right here on the screen more information where you can find us. We love to speak with you personally, one-to-one. We have a free gift for you online. Go to our website. If you are lacking confidence or you need to see more of who you are authentically, we have a free 5-day guide. Trust us, it's a real workbook, so you're going to have to put in the work. It's not one of those checklists. You're going to have to put some days in, just like Coach was talking about earlier in the show. Morning routine, afternoon, and evening, so that you can really get a better sense of who you are, so you can present yourself better in every field that you're in. Thank you again for joining us. Until next time, Coach Charles
And Yvana.
Thank you for having me.